Hello and welcome to Daily Reflection with Aneel Aranha. Today is the 4th of May 2019. We're going to reflect on John chapter 6, 16 to 21. Listen. When evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, got into a boat, and started across the sea to Capernaum. It was now dark, and Jesus had not yet come to them. The sea became rough because a strong wind was blowing. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and coming near the boat, and they were terrified. But he said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." Then they wanted to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the land toward where they were going, the gospel of the Lord. This is an important story, so let me retell it. The apostles get into a boat to go across to Capernaum. It starts getting dark, and in a rush to get across, they begin the journey, leaving Jesus behind to find his own way across. The sea gets rough, and the apostles get frightened. They now frantically try to row before Jesus suddenly makes an appearance. They grow even more afraid until he assures them that it is him. Then they want him to get in the boat with them, and immediately they reach their destination. If you've ever been through what is often called the dark night of the soul, you would see parallels between your experience and what has been described in this passage. This is the general sequence of events, and with minor variations is exactly how it happens. You're growing in your personal journey with the Lord. You get a little cocky because everything seems to be going well. Then suddenly things start to get dark, but instead of waiting for Jesus to show up, you take off on your own. A storm hits, and the severity of it is directly proportional to your degree of spiritual growth. You panic and try to frantically get yourself out of the situation, believing you are going to drown otherwise. Then suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, Jesus makes an appearance, but in your desperation, you don't recognize him. Or perhaps in your anger, you don't want to recognize him. Then you invite him to join you, and immediately, almost miraculously, the dark night is suddenly over and your journey is complete. Now, if you are serious about growing spiritually and begin your journey with Jesus, you are certain to have such an experience. If you decide to continue journeying with him after such an experience, and this actually seems to be the point of this exercise, to see if you will continue or quit. It can happen several times over an extended journey. The first time it happens, it can be terrifying, especially if you don't have a spiritual guide with you. For me, it went on for months, and if I wasn't so bullheaded, I might have quit. You don't think it will happen again, but it does. And by the end, you have figured out the sequence of events. By the third time, you might have figured out the reasons why it happens. We learn so much during these times. However, because it isn't funny, I have tried to find a way to avoid them, and I've discovered something that has worked. Don't leave the shore without Jesus. Then even if the darkness hits, and it will, at least you won't be in the water. For those of you who might already be in the storm, don't be afraid. Jesus is with you. And if you let us know, we will pray for you. God bless.